Google is everywhere. We all know about YouTube, Gmail, Drive, and Search, but Google is secretly on every website you go on and may even be running in the background. They know everything, and here's how. The problem is, Google is not only a helpful ecosystem of products, they're also responsible for a wide variety of the ads we see online. And Google tries its hardest to collect the most amount of data it can on its users in order to give the best ads that will result in the most engagement. And the best way to do that is through cookies. We've all seen them. Cookies are a way for the server to remember you, and they are a necessary part of the modern internet. They could contain your preferences, like what kind of videos you like, or on YouTube if you use dark mode, and that way, when you enter a site and the server recognizes you, it can go, "Oh yeah, I remember you," and give you everything you had before. Cookies can also be used for authentication, like when you click that "I'm not a robot" box, more on that later, you're sending reCAPTCHA your cookie data on that site to verify that it's you and not a robot. But cookies are also often deemed scary, as they can also be used to track you and could allow hackers to access your personal information, if they were in the public domain, which they're not. The rule specifically states only the site that sets the cookie can read the cookie back. So, only YouTube can know your YouTube preferences and authentication, and only Facebook can know your Facebook preferences and authentication. There's no connection, so if you like an animal post on Facebook, there's no higher likelihood that you'll get an animal video recommended to you on YouTube. Seems logical, right? Wrong. There's a problem with that. Enter third-party cookies. See, websites can include ads, YouTube videos, or images within them, right? Well, oftentimes those little add-ons come from different servers, meaning not only is the website itself storing cookies about you, but each add-on is collecting its own cookies based on what you do on the site. So when Google partners up with a bunch of different websites that have their ads built into them, they're able to start building a very detailed profile on you by tracking you through built-in Google ads across the web. This is why it's possible to be visiting a site that seemingly has no connection to Google, but because there was a Google ad on the site, it's collecting data on you through third-party cookies. So you may see connections between the things you did on that site and, say, Google search results. And it's not just built-in ads tracking you through third-party cookies. Back to that "I'm not a robot" box. Sure, it says it's made from a company called reCAPTCHA, but yeah, Google owns that too. And it works by collecting personal information on the user when you check that box to help prove that you're not a robot. But Google is very cagey about exactly what kind of data it's collecting, and rightfully so, as if it gave too much away, the service would be useless, and people would be able to crack the code. But essentially, what we do know is that reCAPTCHA is taking a look at the website you're on's cookies to ensure that you have some prior human-like activity and that you're not a robot. And Google also says it takes a complete snapshot of the user's browser window. It also looks at your plugins, the time of access to the site, and I'm sure a bunch of other stuff that we may never know about. There's even a new version of reCAPTCHA called reCAPTCHA version 3, which many of you probably don't know about because it's invisible. It runs in the background on many of your favorite sites, taking notes on what you're doing and recording your every move. Sure, this system is technically for internet safety measures, but all this data collected just floats around in Google servers, and Google won't even tell us what it is. Sure, it may be a stretch to say that Google's reCAPTCHA data may influence how it sends you ads or ranks search results, but considering these brands are all under the same corporate umbrella, it's also kind of a stretch to say that it isn't. And it doesn't end there. Share with Facebook or sign in with Google buttons report back to your Facebook or Google cookie exactly what you were doing on that site. They might say, "Oh look, you bought this on eBay or did this in a mobile game." And then you, once again, may see related ads about it on Facebook, which is why we so often hear stories about people seeing ads on social media platforms for things they feel like they were only just thinking about. Although in Google's defense, they say they don't use the sign in with Google buttons to track advertising to you. But third-party cookies are still everywhere, and studies have found that the average person online comes across 11,000 a week. But things are starting to get better. Apple released their Sign In with Apple button, which claims to take no data from you and doesn't even store your email if you don't want it to. It's a great way to sign into sites without sharing third-party cookies to advertising companies. And browsers, too, are starting to get better about blocking third-party cookies for you. Safari and Firefox have already started doing this, and Google Chrome says they'll start blocking third-party cookies within 2 years. But at the moment, if you use Chrome, you are still subject to that kind of tracking. And quite honestly, it's no surprise that Google Chrome was most reluctant to do this, as Google themselves probably benefit more from collecting third-party cookie data than anyone else. But what about collecting data within Google servers? There's certainly no privacy laws around that, and no way to disable that either. But Google is such a big company that typing something in one part of the Google universe may correspond with something in another part in a scary way, but that you have no control over because somehow, someway, all these sites are under the same account. Take Google Docs, for example. If I wrote about an iPhone in a Google Doc, would Google recommend more iPhone-related videos to me on YouTube? It's all under the same account, right? Well, you may never know. But I do. I counted every time YouTube recommended an iPhone-related video to me on the homepage, and then I typed iPhone into a Google Doc under my account 1,000 times. Then I checked back into YouTube, and here's what I found. Out of the first 100 videos recommended to me before I typed the iPhones, 4 of them were about iPhones. After I typed in iPhone 1,000 times into a Google Doc and reloaded, 7 of them were about iPhones. Also, the word iPhone was more often put in the title. Although in the original 4 I counted videos like this that were loosely based on iPhones, in the 7 recommended to me after I typed it 1,000 times, there were a lot more videos like this, with iPhone blatantly in the title and thumbnail. I even got more phone-related ads than before. Now, could this connection all be a coincidence? Maybe. But is it still pretty cool? Yes. And also kinda weird. But does any of this matter? Who cares how much Google knows about us? Who cares if Google is tracking you? And it's not like they have any malicious intent, right? Well, right. They really don't. They just want to be able to target ads at you. And maybe that's a bit of a privacy concern for you, in which case, feel free to disable any of these settings in the Google Activity page, or never press OK when sites ask to use cookies. But I must say, it is also promising that although it seems like Google is doing so much to track me, they're still so bad at targeting the right ads to me, to the point where sometimes it's almost laughable. So they clearly don't know that much about me, and at the end of the day, you can stop Google from tracking you. If you want to, or don't. It's up to you. But it's not like the tracking will ever come back to haunt you or really hurt you in any significant way. But it certainly won't help you in any way either. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Google has been recommending hyper-specific ads to you that are freaking you out, or maybe you have some crazy story about some internet hacker finding you through your cookies. Let me know your experience in the comment section down below. And guys, that is pretty much it for this video. Don't forget to ring my like button and subscribe to my bell, because I will see you next time. I'd also like to thank Google, because without them, I wouldn't have this YouTube channel or know any of you. And I know the government has got any privacy concerns under control.
But I'd ask you, how does that show up on a 7-year-old's iPhone who's playing a kid's game?
Congressman, iPhone is made by a different company, and so,
Okay, maybe not. But if there's one thing I do know, it's that I'll see you next time.